Well known the impact of seasons on Pinterest content for your content and marketing success. But what if you're not in the DIY shopping or home decor space? Is there a way for you, yes, you, to tap into the seasonality of Pinterest? Well, you know what? There is. And we're going to be talking about that today. If you're struggling to find a way to naturally tie in your content with seasonal interest on Pinterest, and if you're thinking maybe my niche can't do it, well, your niche can do it. We're gonna talk about that all today. If you answered yes to any of those questions, today is your lucky day because we have an amazing guest with us. We're going to talk all about how to create seasonal content for Pinterest. And I don't know if it's niche or niche or niche. So I'm not really sure how whatever you want to say. So hello, folks. I'm Jeff C. of Mainly Pinterest Tips, and I'm here with my lovely and super smart co-host, Elisa Meredith. Elisa,
hello.
So yes, hello.
Yeah.
This is going to be an exciting topic because I mean, a lot of people, they know Pinterest is seasonal, but anyway, it's kind of trying to tap into that. It's going to be an interesting topic because we already have a lot of comments.
Yes.
And we would love for you guys, if you have questions during the show today, is to drop them right down below. And we're going to try to pull as many as we can on the show today and let our lovely guest answer those to the best of her ability. And we'd also, because Kara is so smart, and she's going to be dropping tons of nuggets of wisdom today, and we're continuing to do our hashtag tailwind tips. So as you hear Kara, or even Elisa, or even if I say something super smart, just do hashtag tailwind tips, and you can be entered into the drawing for this tailwind selfie light. You can only get it here at Tailwind. They're going fast. So as we're going through, write down those nuggets of information and do the hashtag tailwind tips so we can find them and enter you in the contest. Elisa, it's good to see you. I want you to introduce our guest. Now, I've had Kara on my show, I think, a couple times, and she's super smart, and I'm very excited to have her here on the Marketing Unleashed show. So give us the down low on Kara here.
I mean, you had her on your show, and she's super smart, and I've known of her for years, but for some reason we just have never actually spoken until now. I know she's talked to Melissa at Tailwind, and I was kind of jealous of that. So I messaged her on Instagram, like, do you want to come on the show, and what do you want to talk about? And the first thing she suggested was how to use seasonal content on Pinterest if you're not in DIY home decor and e-com, and I was like, yes. I've never even thought of that. Yeah. So Kara of karachase.com rhymes with ace. But spelled with an
ace. All C's. No, all C's and all A's. So
all C's and all A's. Gotcha. Okay. So I don't know, Kara, have you been keeping up with the Pinterest business news this week?
So much. So very much.
I think that they are also tapping into this whole seasonal thing by releasing a whole bunch of new things.
Yeah. Yes. So let's take it from the first one. So because this is one I think that I would love to hear both of you guys talk about. So these new group board features. So this is brand new. So they've announced that there's new group board features for more collaborating, and they talked about now you can have reactions. So what is this a good thing? I mean, and Kara and I were talking a little bit about before the show because we got here early, and
somebody wouldn't give me my invite link.
Yeah, well, so we were talking about this. Is like, what is Pinterest doing? Because every time the founders get on the news somewhere, they're saying we are not a social network; we're a visual discovery engine, and then they do these social tools like reactions. So I want to know first, Kara, what are your thoughts on this? Should we go all in again on group boards? Because back in the day, I know all of us said hey, if you want to get started on Pinterest, get in group boards. It's the way to get known and seen. And we've kind of went, not anymore. And then they do this. So what are your thoughts, Kara?
Right. So my thoughts are wait and see and kind of have a plan for how you might use it. So what we were talking about was how Pinterest has gone back and forth on group boards. They had them for a long time, and they kind of became a dumping ground for links and people, not engaging and everything that we don't want to do as marketers. And so Pinterest said, hey, please stop doing that. Right. And then they rolled out communities, And very quickly after they rolled out communities, they said, never mind. We're going to roll those back into group boards.
Right.
And then they come out with this. And the first thought I had when I read the article and I saw kind of the functionality and where they were going with it was this could be a great add-on bonus for a course, a mastermind, like small group to share ideas or work through learning objectives in a course or whatever it is. So I don't know that it's smart to go back to, okay, I'm all in on this group board strategy, but it could have some, really applicable things for your business if you have something like that where you have a course or a membership or a small group mastermind where you're using it as an additional feature for your people.
Very cool. So would you agree with that, Elisa? I'm still kind of like, I can see where it would be good for like photographers, if you're going to like collaborate with clients and like even like Kara was saying with the mastermind stuff and doing it in there. But from what I still understand that Pinterest is not showing stuff from group boards on the smart feed. And so I'm like, that's kind of like all that I don't want. I want to be seen. Yeah. And so I can see where it'd be helpful, like to go back and forth with clients and stuff. But for like a marketing thing, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree. I think you said the magic word, collaboration. So that's what they were built for, and that's what Pinterest really wants to reinforce. This is for actual collaboration with people you know. So it's not about distribution. And even though you could say, well, this is a social feature, are they making it a social network? I don't see it that way at all because it's intended to be a small selected group as opposed to influencing the world at large. So I still see it as them just kind of reinforcing what they want us to do as group boards, which is to actually collaborate with people who matter. So if you're going to plan a family trip, put in things that you think you might want to do and let people react to them, and then you can sort it by the different reactions. It's really useful, but it's not built for marketers. Like Pinterest wasn't built for marketers, which I think comes as a surprise to some people.
But see, as grubby marketers, we try to ruin everything.
I know.
So,
we do ruin everything.
Yeah. So we're talking about seasonal content today. So is there any way you guys can think that we could use like these new kind of things that they've given us with the group boards to like help our seasonal content? My thing is, if I'm trying to get like, if I have products or a blog post that have to do with like Christmas or Halloween or whatever, I'm still going to use Tailwind Tribes because that gives me the best bang for my buck on this stuff. Can you guys think of any other ways that you would, and if for those of you who don't know what Tailwind Tribes are, oh my gosh, you need to figure out what they are because they're amazing. They're like group boards on steroids and they actually show up in the smart feed, but I digress. So seasonal stuff, should you do anything with them on these new group boards that they're pushing out?
I would I would say no. I really agree with Elisa on the whole. This is not going to be for distribution. This is going to be for that small group collaboration, whether that's a part of your business or personal. So I think there are enough to-dos that we all have for seasonal marketing and content that we can just kind of wait and see on this one. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that there are still a few marketers who are in group boards with the intention of sharing each other's content. So if that's what you're doing and it works for you and you like it, then go ahead. But I think it's just as far as dumping content and leaving, it's not going to help.
Very cool. Well, I want to stop and right now pull up some comments from our live viewers. Susan says, thank you for this. First time able to be with you live. Susan, we are so excited that you're here with us. Thank you for coming. We actually have a great question from some people are watching on YouTube. So Michelle says, I'm a kid's printables party invite and game shop. I would love to do a holiday pin for my items, but how do you do a pin with those items that is a gift guide of sorts? Now, I think this is a great thing because we see a lot of these over on Pinterest, like Father's Day, they'll have a roundup post and stuff like that. So seasonality, how would you do something like this maybe for a party and game shop? Because Christmas is coming up, so what do you think about that, Elisa? What are some ideas?
That's why I have Kara here. So.
Well, no, I'm not letting you off the hook for that one. No, sorry. So,
I mean, gift guides are great, right? So our friend Kate at Simple Pin Media talks about gift guides every year because it's a great way for people who don't necessarily want to have a blog and constantly updating a blog to feature some of their more popular items in a gift guide. So it doesn't matter what the occasion. You could do it for graduation and have like the 20 best graduation gifts for boys in 2020. And you just make a pin with a collage of different items and you link it to a page with all those things available for sale. It's kind of an easy way to dip into content marketing without committing to blogging.
Would you agree, Kara?
Absolutely. In fact, gift guides is one of the things that I was going to talk about. That's probably the quickest path to seasonal marketing for almost any niche, because you're going to know your audience and you're going to know what they provide, what they help people with, what content and or products that they either suggest or sell. So it's really, the great thing about Pinterest is not only is it great for marketing, but it's a fantastic research tool for your audience. So simply typing in gift guides, even not necessarily in your niche, but just to get an idea of how people put those pins together, how they style them, how they design them, is a great way to get inspired for what you might put on your own pins when you design them for that.
Very cool. So I want to talk about this a little bit, Elisa, especially because you've given some tips on this, because I've actually made some gift guides before, and it's a great way to get a little extra coin if you're like an affiliate marketer. But you had some kind of best practices on doing this. So like I did like a Father's Day man cave one that I made some quick cash on. So but you had some great points about not just linking in, don't just link right to the affiliate products. Go back to a blog post maybe on your site and link to them that way, because it kind of can get a little iffy if you're just linking straight out of Pinterest to affiliate sites, depending on who it is. Like Amazon kind of goes, if you're in the U.S. And so what are some best practices there?
Well, I mean, a gift guide is going to have more than one item in it anyway, so it'll be really hard. Like, if you just link to one item and they wanted something else that you show in the pin, it's going to be kind of a disappointing experience, so you don't want that. So yeah, definitely writing a blog post that would explain each of the items and kind of give a little inspiration for how to make it special would be good. But Jeff, before we dive too deep into the different industries and the different tactics, I really wanted to hear from Kara, why is this topic important to you?
Yeah, absolutely. How much time do we have?
As much
right?
time as you want. Yeah.
Right. So I get asked all the time from prospective clients, people in my membership, whoever it is, how am I supposed to use Pinterest if I'm not a DIYer, if I'm not a recipe blogger, all of those very classic, so to speak, Pinterest industries, whether it's fashion or interior design, all that kind of stuff. Right. So people kind of have it in their heads that if they're not one of those kind of gimme niches in Pinterest, that they can just expect to not be able to take advantage of some of the seasonality of Pinterest. The other factor here, and Jeff and I were talking just a little bit about this, is the broader term of seasonal content. So yes, we are talking about the Q4 big holiday marketing push, right? The Thanksgiving, Black Friday, holiday shopping, gift guides, all of that good stuff. But seasonality also means any other holiday or content or topic trends that might come up on Pinterest, whether that's a normal holiday like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, whatever it is, or you notice that, right, back to school, or you notice things for your industry like wedding season, or I have some clients that are in like gardening and flower farming, so they definitely have seasonal content. So it's really about, if you're not in those classic industries, how do you still continue to provide timely information and valuable content for your audience? And it's really about kind of switching your mindset, because something happens to us when we start marketing. We forget what it's like to be a user, right?
Yeah.
We forget how we use Pinterest. We forget that we don't want to be sold to and sent to an affiliate link with no mention of how something benefits my life or whatever it is. So we kind of lose that. This is all about getting back to what does your audience need from you, and how can you marry that up with seasonality? So, I mean, I can keep talking. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that, or.
I think that's great. I think the point, like we were talking about before the show, like I have Peg Fitzpatrick is a friend of mine, and she used to tell me she gets this one pin, and it's some cupcake recipe she pinned a long time ago. She gets it every year, and it's not based on like any like season or something, but it just hits every time, the same time during the year, and it gets all this traffic. And she's like, what? So that would be considered I would consider seasonality. And you think, you know, the only way you can figure that stuff out is by watching your analytics, which I know we're all very, all of us here are like, you got to do that. Otherwise you're just throwing stuff up against the wall. I do want to bring up some more comments really quickly from some of our live viewers. And remember that we are continuing to do the tailwind tips. And so far, we've just got one so far. So if you hear a great nugget of information, make sure you drop that in down below and put hashtag tailwind tip. And this is one from Sarah. She goes, watch the live videos. My pins have performed so much better since tuning in and getting good ideas. Hashtag tailwind tips. Awesome. That is so cool, Sarah. Thank you for that comment. And I also want to let you guys know that if you missed out maybe on the past couple weeks on this, it's still there. It's our toolkit that you can download for free at bit.ly/Pinterest toolkit. That's all lowercase. That's bit.ly/Pinterest toolkit. And it's got some great, awesome templates on it that I know Elisa worked really hard on. And they're actually really, really good. I mean, they're really good.
They actually are. You sound
they
so
actually
surprised.
are. No, they're really good. So.
Yeah, so what I think is so cool about those, if I do say so myself, is mostly because I got the data from Pinterest, right?
Yeah.
So they analyzed 21,000 different pins, and they pulled out the elements that work for certain objectives. So we said, all right, we worked with Easel to create perfect pins for whatever objective you have, and we did it in 4 different niches, and you can just take them all and adapt them for yourself. And there's a checklist for the perfect pin, tips on how to write great descriptions. Yeah, and it's all free. So, yeah.
Cool. I do want to kind of spur some more conversation because we've talked about seasonality. Yeah. And Kristen asked this question. She goes, could you recommend ideas for a service company, healthcare staffing to be exact? Our product is providing service. We're always focused on providing value and content for our profession, but does it make sense to create Pinterest content based on our audience's personal interests? So how would this fit into seasonality? Because a lot of Pinterest users and a lot of our audience are service based. They're not maybe making products or may not be having recipes all the time. So how can we get on this seasonality thing on our Pinterest content? So I know Kara has some good ideas.
Do you want me to run with it?
Go.
Go. So when I'm putting together boards for accounts, whatever it is, I'm always thinking in terms of a profile. The boards that are put up should kind of be a Venn diagram of what your target audience is interested in. So I do Pinterest marketing and management, but I know that my audience is also very likely going to be interested in email marketing and website design and other social media and productivity and things like that. So it really helps you kind of think and take a step back for what is your audience really looking for, and being a curator for the best ideas, the best content, the best how-tos. So this is a perfect way to kind of outline how to start thinking about the seasonal content differently if you're service-based. And it's easy to talk about kind of what I do in my plan because I am service-based. So I do Pinterest, but I also have a heavy dose of entrepreneurship, productivity, and some other things that not only matter to me, but I know matter a lot to my audience. So I'm not pinning about, Halloween porch decor. Right. I'm pinning about how to batch your content so you can take time off over the holidays because they're coming. Great. We're going to be traveling. We're going to be wanting to take a step back and spend time with family, whatever it is. Maybe you just want to take some time off to, take a rest and kind of celebrate your wins for the year. Right. So it's from the mindset of what is my audience thinking about right now? What problem could I solve that is going to help them do something better, which is why people go to Pinterest. They're looking for ideas and inspiration. So no, I'm not going to blog about, Christmas travel, but I can talk about how to run my business better and batch my Pinterest content so that I can take Christmas off.
Right. So what you're doing.
So I want to go back to. Oh.
Go ahead, Elisa.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you were saying about curating this content that would fit more of their needs than just the basic, like the main thing you do. But then you specified later that you're going to blog about that. So it's not about curating other people's content to bring in certain people. It's going to inform your content marketing strategy, which I think is something that we're realizing more and more, that success on Pinterest has to do more with your content strategy, your overall content strategy, than almost anything else. So I just wanted to clarify that it's not like pinning other people's content, even though you never talk about email or you never blog about email. It's like in support of your content as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point.
So this person who wrote in, though, that's kind of a tricky one to me because they are a healthcare staffing company. So their audience is going to be healthcare workers. So that's got to inform their content, right?
Self-care during the holidays when you're in, I bet there's a lot of stats about how, the healthcare industry, whether that's emergency rooms, whatever it is, are way busier during the holidays. How to take care of yourself, how, healthy and nutritious when things get crazy over the holidays. I think there's some stat around about how like Thanksgiving weekend is the busiest time in the ER the whole year.
Right.
So it's really about thinking about those little things that are like, okay, if my audience is in healthcare and staffing and whatever, so they're helping staff people. And they're looking for how to take care of those people, likely, like how do they keep them, retain them, whatever. So what's going on in that industry this time of year? It's not about Christmas decor. It's about what's happening in their industry and how can we help people with that.
That's great. So you're trying to tie into, what your audience wants, but also maybe what they're thinking about. Like you were saying, you're not going to throw a ton of Halloween stuff on them, but you're like, okay, if you're doing parenting, it's like how to make Halloween safer. It'd be like, so you're you're being sneaky because we're marketers. We have to sneak, but you're still giving what your audience what they need, but they're also what they're thinking about. They're not just thinking about their work. They're thinking about, hey, I'm going on this trip. Hey, the holidays are coming up. I'm already kind of getting holiday mode. My boss isn't looking, so I'm looking on Pinterest right now. What's going to show up in my feed?
I think it's really more about developing empathy for your audience, right?
That's
so there's a little bit
nice
of
term.
Well, the way that you said it really kind of brought that word to mind because it's really putting yourself in their situation. What is it that I'm thinking about now that is specific to this time of year? And I think if we all just take a minute and think about that, it will become pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And then it kind of opens up a whole new world for like, how can I talk to my audience about what's going on in their lives right now, depending on the season.
Right.
Yeah.
So Naomi goes ahead and brings that up. She goes, find ways to link seasonality with what your audience needs from you. So that's a great tailwind tip. Thank you for that, Naomi. We also, let me see, there was a great one about boards. Let me see here. It says, this is from Laura. Laura's one of she shows up almost every time. Thanks for coming by, Laura. And this is a great question. We usually don't get into holiday content. How specific should we be with seasonality? I'm in weddings, product-based, accessories for brides. Does it make sense to create a holiday gift guide for brides-to-be, or should it be Christmas gift guides for brides-to-be, or simply gift guides to brides-to-be? And this brings up a great thing that I think we should talk about. I'll save mine to see if anybody says it, but Elisa, you go on this one first. What would you recommend to Laura?
I don't even know that. I mean, gift guide is fine. You could do a gift guide for brides-to-be. I don't think the season matters so much in that context personally, though I am open to disagreement on that. But I think where I would bring in seasonality a bit more would be the different wedding themes. So like a springtime wedding themes, like springtime wedding decor, springtime wedding colors, and do the same with all the seasons, because it seems to me that that would be more where it would come in, but I could be wrong.
What do you think, Kara?
I agree. It's, you can't look on Pinterest for what's trending and not have something relating to weddings come up. So it is kind of a year-round thing, but the seasonality matters. Fall wedding, winter wedding, whatever it is, just like Elisa said. And it's also important to keep in mind that it's not necessarily like, somebody looking for gifts for brides or whatever. Usually it's the bride or her close friends and family that are looking for things. So also think in terms of who might be looking for this, not necessarily just the bride or just the maid of honor. But yeah, I think tying into how, wedding trends change over the course of the year, for sure, is what you should be doing.
The other thing I would think about is because, and that's because we talked about this on our last show, Pinterest show with Jennifer Priest. We talked about the fresh pins kind of strategy and how to make multiple pins for the same piece of content. So when I saw her list, when Laura listed out all these things, holiday gift guide for brides to be, or should it be Christmas gift guides? My thing is like, why not make a piece of content where you could use it for multiple things and just have multiple pins that lead back to the same gift guide. Maybe you brand it a little different, but I think that you could test this out and see what's working. Because there's no reason if you create a gift guide for Father's Day that you couldn't repurpose that for Father's Day. I mean, for gifts for dads for Christmas, Right. So I think you could do a lot of that stuff and then test which pins. And that's one of the things I do want to talk about is how far out do you think we need to start creating seasonal content? I know Tailwind's got a great guide what they have where you can go and look like when to start things, and it's pretty shocking. It's usually like probably like 2 weeks before Walmart does. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? Or Costco, yeah. Like when they start rolling that stuff out, you're like, oh, it's too late. I screwed. I didn't do my
it's kind of like the Michaels test, right? Or a Hobby Lobby test. If you go in there, they're already putting out stuff that you need to prepare for the season. So that's kind of the Pinterest test for me is what they're doing. I just shared in the comments again the Pinterest Possibilities Planner, which gives you a graph like when people start searching and like when it heats up and when it cools down, and it's amazing. So to me, what I see when I look at that is the bigger the holiday, the longer the lead time. It's amazing. So
I was just going to say, in looking at Pinterest Insights, one of the most surprising things to me was how New Year's starts trending in the middle of summer. And I'm like, holy moly. Right. But there was a great article that came out several weeks ago about how fall is also this sense of New Year's for people because of back to school, because of getting back to routines, because of people wanting to finish the year strong. And it's kind of this double spike the end of the year with this whole concept of new year, new you, getting organized, routines, schedules, planners. Everybody's doing the big planner push right now. So it's really helpful to look at those insights and think, how could I start, providing good stuff for my audience now?
Yeah, I think those are good.
Yeah, I shared that link as well in chat, but if you're listening to the podcast, you can Google the new year on Pinterest, and I think that will come up pretty quick.
And Bobette
so it's talking about like organization, routine, positivity, goal setting, all like New Year stuff.
Yeah, very cool. So Bobette says, look in the interest section of Pinterest Analytics for clues on what season-related topics your audience is thinking about. I thought that's a great one to do. Yes. So you guys would say to really like move quickly in like months before stuff rolls out. Do you have like kind of best practices that you like? I want to start this, 2 months before it hits. I mean, how far do you back this stuff up? And then Elisa, I'll ask that one to Kara. And then Elisa, I want you to talk about that for maybe doing seasonal stuff for promoted pins. What your thoughts are on that? So Kara, I'd love for you to go like you do a lot of work with clients and Pinterest clients. Like, how often are you saying, hey, I need this content for Christmas? I need it like by this date. Like
Yesterday.
How far out?
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I try and stick to 2 months. You hit it on the head, is about what I try to keep it at for myself and for clients. So I already have my holiday gift guide for entrepreneurs out and circulating through Tailwind and Tribes and whatever for me. Clients aren't always as quick as I am for stuff, of course, but 2 months is definitely a good rule. So yeah, I'm already like all my stuff is ready and scheduled for the holidays, and I'm already thinking about January and New Year's and organizing and that content that I provide.
Yeah.
That's because you're organized.
If you're like me and you haven't done that yet, like you're like, oh my God, I've got to get going.
You got a month.
You can pay some money and get out there and get seen. So Elisa, what are your thoughts on that? How soon do you think people who are like, hey, listen, I want to put some money behind this because I really want to like maximize my reach. How far out do you think they need to start thinking? Do you still see 2 months? Or what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you could start now. I mean, if you look at the Pinterest Possibilities Planner, you see that pinning for the holidays starts to heat up in June, like Kara said. Same thing with Thanksgiving, Black Friday. However, it's not like if you haven't done it or if you don't do it by the 1st of October, it's too late. It keeps going right up to the date. So my feeling is that since Pinterest started to really value fresh pins, it doesn't take as long for a new pin to start gaining steam. So even if you're just organic, like if you get it out in the next month, there's time, right? But if you really want to push it, or if you're like late, a great way to get more distribution would obviously be promoted pins. Then you probably want to do traffic promoted pins, but you like to do it for a week, probably not going to help you this season. But if you can give it at least 4 weeks, because you got to let it ramp up, then you got to optimize it and let it go. But yeah, it's kind of like your backup in case you're a little late on the organic this year.
Yeah, oops. That's kind of pay some money.
One of my favorite things to do on the mobile app is to see every few days I go in and see what people are searching for and what's trending. And you will see not only what people are preparing for, but those timely things like back to school, Halloween decor. And yeah, it goes right up to the day. But that's a good, like super quick 30-second way to kind of get some ideas for what's happening on Pinterest.
Okay, so I want to do that. So, I'm on my mobile app. Let's talk people how to do that.
Okay.
I think it might depend on Apple versus Android.
Yeah.
Okay, what are you on?
She's on Android. So
Android.
we got the dueling smartphones here. So let's go. Who can do it first? Remember, this is a podcast.
So right now, you see it and search for ideas.
Yeah.
So the top one is what I've recently searched for. Then it has ideas for you based on your searches. And then it says at the bottom, trending on Pinterest.
Very cool.
Yeah, I actually have the exact same thing. You just have to click on home and hit the search bar, and then it pops up so you can see that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And there's wedding dresses.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine's different. My trends are different from yours.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's based on what you're kind of searching for in your audience and your followers and all the things that they do.
Because I don't get that. I don't get that either. I get like men's watches and stuff.
That's so funny because 2 of them are something I have never searched for ever.
So.
And 4 of them are so perfect for me. So they're not like totally just neutral trending on Pinterest, but it's some kind of indication.
Well, it looks like they have about 10 different search terms. So there's no way that they could give you all everything that's trending. So yeah, there's I'm guessing neither of you have fall crafts for toddlers.
No, I've outgrown that.
And why I have Archie Harrison Royal Baby. Like, that's so not on my...
you need to talk to the engineers about that because that's a fail right there for them.
But 4 of them are perfect for me. So maybe they look at what's trending and they try to give you a little bit of like completely neutral, like spooky nails.
Yeah, like maybe you're interested in that. Yeah, I've seen that too. So I want to get back to like
4 for me.
I want to get back to the like we've kind of talked about the fresh pin strategy where we're creating multiple pins that point back to like a piece of, and since we're talking about seasonality, seasonal content. So when you guys do photo shoots, like, or even, so I know Kara does a lot of service-based stuff. I've done some stuff with I think we all have done stuff with product-based people where they're, they're shooting pictures of the products. Are you changing how many images that you want for each piece of content? So like I'm helping Kim Garst with all her stuff now. We don't put out any sort of post that we don't have 5 pin images for that piece of content. That's standard, and we usually do more based on what's working. So for every piece of content now, I want 5 pins that I can point back to that content at the minimum. And so when we do photo shoots or we do whatever, I'm trying to make sure I have enough of those images captured to create those. Have you guys changed your kind of strategy, and how many different pins do you like to have for each piece of content? Elisa, I'll go first with you.
Yeah, I'm not doing a ton of client work, especially in the organic space right now, but just as far as for Tailwind's content marketing, we are doing multiple pins, and I've gone back and looked at various pieces that convert really well for us, and I'm having new pins made for that. So when I do that, I give them like 2 different headline options and some direction on like trying to keep the theme and the style similar, because that's important for SEO. But yeah, I think definitely the idea of having more and more pins for each piece of content is becoming, it's a must nowadays.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Kara? What are you doing for your clients?
Yeah, so we do 5 per new piece of content. I found that's enough to get a good variety out there, but not too much to be overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And we're always throwing in new pin graphics for good content that we find from both Pinterest and Google Analytics. But I have also found sometimes with product-based or service-based to a certain extent, getting those high quality, good lifestyle photos can be a little difficult. Mm-hmm. And that is where having your different templates that you can use for graphic design come into play, where you can maybe use the same 2 or 3 photos, but the pin looks completely different because of how you design it or the template, as well as the text overlay. So you can really stretch your content as far as graphic design goes, even if you don't have a ton of really good photos.
Here's a great question as we're talking about this, and this is from Mina. She goes, do you release all these pins at once? And so that's what the genius is of Tailwind, is you're able to schedule those out. And so because the team at Kim Garsh, they create tons of these all at once, and I just upload them all at Pinterest and then schedule them out. And then what I do is I find out which ones are performing well, then I add those to Smart Loop so they get trickled out throughout the year. And so that's kind of been our strategy. But I also have been, like when I'm talking to those product-based people, like you were saying, hard to get the lifestyle photos, is I really try to push them to like, send me everything. Even when you don't think it's a bad shot, send it to me because I need it. And I I can maybe crop it or put it in those templates like you were talking about, Kara, where you can make it look totally different and I want to have new shots because I want to have Pinterest algorithms saying, oh, this is a brand new pin. I don't want any like, oh, it's too similar and all that stuff. So I try to, if I can push my client to give me content, I'll just like shoot the whole roll, do the, the thing where it shoots all those photos all at once. Give those to me. So
yeah, and I'm going with because Pinterest suggested that we create new content at least once a week. So I'm kind of taking that and decided that, all right, if I have 5 different pins, I'm gonna put 1 out per week, like to begin. So that's the direction that I've given to the person who's handling our pinning right now, is if I give you 5 pins, put 1 out today, 1 out the next week, just because my supposition is that it's going to get more distribution that way. It could be that you could do 1 every day. I don't know, but I'm just going with the week myself.
Right.
Yeah.
The other question I want to ask you guys is, there's some more news about Shop the Look. So Shop the Look is this, they're adding it now for ads. So they have these Shop the Look ads, and I can just see that this is going to get hit hard, especially if they open up to everybody. Right now it's limited to certain big boys, like probably Macy's and Neiman Marcus and those type of people.
Target.
Yeah, and Target,
yes,
of course.
Always Target.
But if they open that up to people, especially for the Christmas season, what are your thoughts about this for, seasonality and using the Shop the Look thing? It's kind of exciting, but you can have up to 25 images, in these kind of ads. And is that overkill, or do you think this would be helpful for people? What are your thoughts, Elisa? Because you're Promoted Pins princess.
I think it's a great idea. We've talked about the benefits of doing collage pins, especially if you want to test Pinterest advertising, but you don't want to have to run 10 different pins because it gets very expensive. You could then kind of test the interest in multiple images by putting them all in one. So I like how this works, and that's the one where you can have multiple images show up below it. So I like it. I feel like it allows you to have more of a lifestyle image, but still be very retail, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What about you,
It's
Kara?
kind of the same thing as when you look in a traditional catalog and you see the vignette or the lifestyle photo or whatever it is. And then if it catches your eye and interests you, then you go look at the letter in the description and what colors it comes in and, all that kind of stuff and the price. So it's almost kind of the same journey in the consumer's head about this caught my eye. I can imagine myself, wearing this or having this in my home or how this fits into my life. And now I want to know the details about it. So I think it's super applicable and exciting.
Yeah, so what they're talking about is it's like a collections format. So for the example in Fabletics, and I'll share the link in a second, it shows like one pair of leggings, but then if you scroll down, there are multiple outfits, and you can go right there and buy them easily on the site.
Cool. So here's a great question from Maureen. She goes, what would be the minimum starter budget for Promoted Pins to get enough out there to avoid throwing money at the wall? I know a lot of people have this question because they may want to, they may have waited like me to the last minute and they want to get their content out there before the holidays. What would you guys suggest for just to get out there to see if it's worth throwing even more money behind?
I personally would not run an ad group for less than $10 a day, and I'd probably be running several ad groups. If Pinterest wants to see $100 a day plus, but you don't have to do that much. It's going to really come down to what a click is worth for you and what the bids are. So if because of the competition, which is heating up right now severely, you're forced to pay 99 cents a click, then obviously your budget per day is going to have to be a lot more than someone who, like in the teacher space, who might be paying 15 to 20 cents a click. So it depends a lot on what your individual needs are and what your bid's going to be. But if you just have no idea, just know that you're going to have to try a couple ad groups at least $10 a day, or it's just you're never going to know if it's going to work.
So you mentioned it's heating up severely right now. Is that because of seasonality?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the big guys, like we talked about, are buying up a lot of the ad inventory. And even if you're not competing for the same audience, so you're not using the same interests, the same keywords, the same anything, they are still buying up so much of the inventory that it's the smaller advertisers are getting priced out to some extent. And that will happen until the 1st of January when it becomes affordable again.
Kara,
do you have any like best practices that you use when you're starting out a Promoted Pins campaign?
Yeah, and this kind of applies all year round. It kind of depends on how quickly you want to get the data and the information about how well your ads are performing. So yeah, Pinterest wants you to spend $100 a day. There is a difference between what they would like you to spend and what you can spend to get results, but it does have to do with your timeline. So I could spend less if there's an evergreen piece of content that I'm okay with running ads for the next 3 or 4 months to get that information. But if I want to, move kind of quickly and get a lot of good data more quickly about this graphic does better or this targeting does better, I'm going to want to spend more money up front to get that data quicker.
Cool.
Yeah.
So if you guys are still watching, if you guys are just joining us, we are talking all about seasonality on Pinterest, and we do have a guide for you guys to download. Make sure you go to bit.ly/Pinterest Toolkit for some awesome templates. We've been talking about how to, use stuff, seasonality, and making multiple pins. This template, the templates that are in this are amazing for this. You can mix and match them. You can drop in different images. So get this while it's still free and available at bit.ly/Pinterest Toolkit. What would you guys say is the biggest mistake you see people doing trying to capitalize on being seasonal on Pinterest? What would you say that would be, Kara?
I would say trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It's the people that think, well, everybody's, posting about holiday stuff, so I guess I should put up a board about, a Halloween porch decor so I can get some traffic to my Pinterest profile. It's like, well, no, because then you're attracting people that have zero interest in what you actually do. So it's, again, trying to just jump on the bandwagon without thinking about the audience you want to attract.
What about you?
I think on the other side is probably just not thinking about seasonality because you don't think it applies. So I'm hoping we can cover some more examples so we can prove to people that it doesn't matter what you do, you can take advantage of this seasonal stuff.
So is there
I'd love to give you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say I'd love to give you another example of a way that we've come up with something that's a little unique and a little different. I have a client who does these amazing chocolate dipped coconut macaroons.
Gosh.
And they are individually packaged. She has gift boxes, all this kind of stuff. And so when we were first talking, she was like, well, I have this whole food thing that matches with Pinterest, but I don't want to be giving away the recipe. Like, it's a product, not a, people are searching for how to make coconut macaroons. I said, okay, well, let's think about this for a minute, because you're not wanting to attract necessarily the people that are looking to make them. Although there is a path to somebody looking to make them and realizing they can just buy it from you and not deal with it. But, let's look at some of the things that are themes for your audience. They're fantastic for travel because they're individually packaged. They also happen to be gluten-free because of the way they make them. So there's, different things there. We came up with an entire year's content plan for her website before we start doing the pins, where it was talking about things like putting together holiday gift baskets, back to school teacher gifts, travel during the holidays, like what to bring in your go bag for your kids. All of these things that didn't have anything to do necessarily with, hey, buy my product. It was, how do you make the target audience's life easier with these delicious macaroons? And how does that apply to different times of the year and what's trending, like teacher gifts, like Mother's Day, like, all of this kind of stuff. You don't have to give away the recipe. You just have to show people how you're solving a problem for them.
Nice.
That's really cool. So I think the big takeaway from that example is you spent the time and created content for a year before you started doing creating pins or anything. I think that's the key. We try to, I know, and I can be guilty of this in the past. We create a pin and then we decide to make content behind it. That's not the way that's getting the cart before the horse. So you really want to make sure, I think that was just genius what you said, that you had a plan, and the reason you weren't just throwing stuff there to get people there, you were actually providing value so they would come, from that pin to your site to get that information. So I think that
one of the ones they just did was because they're individually packaged, like a whole blog on giving out Halloween treats. And you don't have to give out crud and, the crappy candy and all the, I don't know if I can say that live everywhere else. But worse, so really thinking about how does this apply to the everyday life that my audience is living is key, and then having a plan for when to roll that out. So she's already creating the blogs for the Christmas gifts and the holiday parties, and we've put together content around like dessert and wine pairing menus where her product is woven into the content. So
that could tie into weddings as well. I have a couple more questions for you guys. So
yeah, I want to get some more examples too. I know I asked people to share their niche, and we would give them some ideas.
Yeah. So one of the things I was thinking about is there's the opportunity now with video pins, and how I haven't seen a ton. I've started to see more seasonal type pins with the video thing. So I still think there's an opportunity for people to maybe, at least it's talking about really getting in there organically, quickly. The video pins might be a great way to do that because they show up at the top on your searches. And so if you're trying to crack the code and, getting some of your seasonal stuff out there, maybe create some video pins that way.
That's a good idea.
So I contribute every once in a while. So let's see what else we have for questions. I don't see any. We've got a lot about theme weddings. And this is, and Laura was talking about, she does those, and it might be something, creating some boards on that way with seasonality. Let's see. I
saw one about the productivity and positive habits niche.
Oh yeah. So what would you do for that one? I'll see how I can pull that up while you talk about it.
Yeah, this is kind of a gimme, an easy one for me because I love talking about productivity, and it kind of fits in with this whole conversation we were having about the new life, the fall spike, and then the actual New Year spike. So for example, if you're talking about productivity, then you think about what's happening in people's lives during the year. So I already gave the example of like, well, how do you batch your content so you can take the holidays off? That definitely would apply. But thinking more in terms of, okay, let's take organization. So I don't do anything involving actual organizing, like how to organize under your sink or your linen closet or, whatever. But I can sure talk about how to organize your digital files and how to clean up your blog and how to be more streamlined with your online business or your content or whatever, because I guarantee you my audience is going to get caught up in the wave of, I need to be more productive. I want to finish the year strong. I want to clean things up. I want to whatever. And so, no, they're not going to come to me for how to organize their linen closet, but they are going to come to me for how to clean up their blog, or how to plan a business planning retreat at the end of the year to plan for the next year. So again, think of beyond those classic things of, organizing the linen closet or how to be productive with your day, and think about how your content, works with those themes in general.
Yeah. And you said like, they're not going to come to you for that. They're also, on Pinterest, they're going to be looking for organizational tips and ideas, and I feel like that would play in really well with that kind of content. Ideas to organize your blog, get organized. Yeah, good tips. There's another one.
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, if you use the phrase ideas or tips or how to with anything on Pinterest, it's going to work pretty well.
Yeah, and I think that's a great thing to keep in mind when you're planning content, right? It's all going to be about that. It's going to be about inspiration and information together. That's the key to me.
I think so.
Yeah.
So do you guys think, so we talked about seasonality, and I think of seasonality as a wave. So there's opportunities in the wave, like if you can capture where everybody's searching for Christmas stuff, and you can get seen in there. But is there opportunities as well as when the season, like after Christmas is over and like after New Year's and everything kind of lulls and everybody talks about their Pinterest traffic is plummeting and stuff. Do you think there's also opportunities in those areas as well? Because all, like Target and all those places aren't spending money on that. Do you think there's like opportunity on the outside of that curve? Ooh, Kara's got one.
I think those are the perfect times to ramp up and refresh your evergreen high-performing content, especially if you have a lead magnet or an opt-in, because it's a good time for promoted pins to build your list.
Yes,
that's a key takeaway right there. That's a tailwind tip. If I've ever heard one.
Put that in there.
Yeah,
so, I think too if you look at what works for you seasonally, take those pins and put them into Smart Loop for next year. So what Smart Loop does is you can say between this time and this time, I want you to share this pin to these boards. And then when next year comes around, you don't have to remember to do it again. You can also use what you've learned in there to create fresh pins for the next season and put them right in there now. So you're like,
right.
next year when the season comes around, you'd be like, I'm all set. I can do what Kara said and just take some time off.
Very cool.
Right. Another hot tip is when you're planning your content in advance, to do some research on Google Trends. So if you look up Google Trends and you look at what was trending in your industry or your niche the previous year during a certain time frame, you can plan ahead for content that might work for that. Again, not fitting square peg into a round hole if it doesn't work, but it can certainly give you ideas for it.
Well, and you can adapt it, right? So if you saw something that you're like, oh, that is so Google, but not Pinterest at all, just a little tweak in wording or approach is all you really need to make it work on Pinterest most of the time.
Well, here's a perfect example of that. When Spark Joy KonMari, the whole Netflix thing came out last January, how many pins were we seeing about like KonMari this and like how KonMari as a verb?
Right.
You know,
Yes.
Go KonMari this, go KonMari that. And everybody was fitting their content into that search term. That's an extreme example because it was so popular and so such a pop culture thing that happened. But that's the perfect example of how to think about your content and if it fits and how to tweak it.
Well, this right here sparks joy for me. This is the Tailwind light, that if you're watching the replay, you can be entered to win if you put hashtag Tailwind tip, because we're getting towards the end of our show, but this, talk about sparking joy, just look at it. It'll actually, look, it's sparking joy right as we speak. Look at that. So
I had mine flashing earlier. That was a big party.
It's like, I don't know, it's like the stranger danger thing that they have there for your selfie thing. But I don't want to have this opportunity. I want to make sure we don't miss this opportunity of Kara. Where can people find out about you? I mean, I've had you on my show. You're a wealth of information. You're just a cool Pinterest pinner. And where can they find out more about you?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This has been really fun. So you can go to carachase.com and it's CARACHACE.com. So all C's. And that has everything that I do. But I would also encourage your audience to go to carachase.com/tailwind-training, because Melissa from Tailwind and I did a really cool training video on how to batch your Pinterest content for the end of the year. And if you do it, it frees up so much time and space for you to do other things in your business. So that was really fun to do with Melissa and Tailwind, and her talking about all the different features and how to do it. So that's something that everybody can really take action on.
Well, that's with Tailwind and Kara. I mean, Melissa and Kara together. I mean, your monitor just may melt because of all the information. They're both super smart, and so that's well worth going and checking out. And also, we'd love for you guys to go check out before it's gone the bit.ly/Pinterest Toolkit, where you can get a ton of awesome templates. They partnered with Easel, which is a great program. A bunch of best practices on there. So make sure you go download that at bit.ly/Pinterest Toolkit. That's all lowercase. And with that, we really appreciate all the great comments today. And for Kara, of course, for being here. And Elisa, all the great questions and comments. Thank you guys so much for being here. We will see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.
See ya.